coronavirus and how is it related to property. I know we have been reading a lot of news about this latest virus that hit all of us, and how is it actually related to property market, especially at the Malaysian front. Stay tuned. I'll see you later. Welcome back, everyone. And again, my name is Sean. I'll be the speaker and for today's topic, COVID, which stands for Coronavirus disease 19, as you can see, is discovered in the year of 2019, and Property Outlook 2020. Basically, today the sharing is a bit unconventional because, as I mentioned earlier, that this virus is hitting us left and right, and then we have been monitoring what is going on, the latest development of the virus. But at the same time, because this is more like a properties related show, so I'm just going to take a step back and look at what this virus can be affecting us, affecting the market 3, 6, even 1 year from now on. Okay? Now, let's take a look at the latest figure. If you check into this WuhanVirus.com, you can see basically the latest statistic that you may find about this virus. Of course, being the epicenter of the whole thing, which is at the Hubei province, and especially the city Wuhan. So as of today, the latest whole infected numbers has registered close to 70,000 people worldwide. I'm talking about worldwide. And we have registered close to 1,700 deaths in 29 countries. Of course, you can see other outside of China, Japan is the one that got affected most because of the cruise. So, from my point of view, even Japan is registered the highest one, but their source of the infection is very much concentrated and it's easier to trace. But let's look at this. I'm sure most, if not all of us, are familiar with this virus name. It started with Wuhan virus. And then later on, they changed name to COVID-19, which stands for Coronavirus disease, found in the year of 2019. And of course, the latest one, they will call it SARS Coronavirus-2. So, I don't know. Sometimes we wonder, did we spend too much effort and time in just changing the name? But what we do know now is this virus is a family and is very close to the latest outbreak that we know, which is the SARS and the MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory System. Basically, all these viruses are attacking our respiratory system. So in other words, yes, we have cold, we have the common symptom like a flu, but the most important thing to detect, as some of you may have seen it online, is basically if you have difficult breathing, holding your breath for more than 10 seconds, yes, this could be one of the major symptoms on top of the feverish, on top of the running nose, and coughing. So, holding breath for more than 10 seconds is one of the good way and easier way to check your condition. And of course, if you see online, if you see on the Facebook, mask sold out, sanitizer sold out. But if you look at the closer thing, of course, in that sequence, the more effective way to combat is, of course, having a clean, thorough hand wash is more effective than sanitizer. Even sanitizer comes with alcohol. Of course, if you don't have to go out, stay home. Then after that, you have to go out, wear the mask and wear the mask properly. Now, I think some of you may be experienced or have been witnessing some of the depressing situations in certain places, certain cities around the world. And because of the buying spree, the panic buying of masks, and you can see that the certain government and certain farmers, they actually put a limitation on buying masks. So, in certain places, that's what I see. It's not a very pleasant, but in fact, it's a very distressing, depressing moments we are living in is now. And see, some people have to queue up 6 to 8 hours just to get 2 masks. And you can see some of the video have shown us is like, in order to test the genuinity of the mask, you basically use one fire. Use the fire to test the mask. If it's burned, it's not the real one. If it's actually melting, that's probably the one. And the second one is, after you test it, you're left with 1 mask. And then you wear the mask, and then you queue to buy again tomorrow. So I'm seeing that they are basically confined the moment that if they go out to buy the mask, they are limited to buying 1 mask. But the queue, the time the span, the queue already took up the mask of the day. So one thing is, why so much attention is being given to this virus, the newfound virus, COVID-19 versus the US influenza? Let's take a look. COVID-19 and US influenza, what are the similarities and what are the differences? COVID-19, as of now, you have infected more than 60,000 people. And Q, as I mentioned in the early, is 1.7 thousand people. And the transmission is from animal to human. Suspected source of virus is definitely from the bat. Let's take a look at the influenza. Many people say that US influenza is killing more people and infected more people as well. And let's take a look how many. It has infected more than 200,000 people. And in fact, it killed more than 10,000 people. The transmission mostly from this US influenza is from human to human. Now, why US influenza infecting more than 300 people and also killing a lot more people, but the media coverage is less than what the COVID-19 is having now? Have you ever wondered why? I think one of the reasons I read from articles is because the unknown factors. The COVID-19, the virus has been transmitting from animals to humans. Our body system is not accustomed, is not familiar with this kind of virus attack, whereby influenza in US is more like a human transmission. So people kind of already accepted it will come in a way like a seasonal thing. It will claim some life and then it will go away and it will come back again. People become accustomed to it. People become just like Malaysia. I read a quick statistic just now before I came in is like dengue. Everybody know about dengue. Dengue has claimed 100 over life just in the last 12 months. And as you know, if a person is diagnosed with dengue, pretty much there's no medicine to be given out. It has to rely solely on your own body immune system and your health condition in order to combat the virus and recover fully. Come and think about this. This is actually quite familiar with, similar with the COVID-19. Basically now the medicine, they have not developed a full effective medicine. And largely those people who can be discharged from the hospital, it depends their own immune system and their fighting spirit as well. So I think it will come to a time that we have to accept this could be part. And if this is, I hope it will be cured completely, a vaccination can come out. But if not, it will reach a certain point of time, people have to accept the fact this is something happened in life. Now, after all this heavy spirit, why not just look at something that is, hopefully can lift up our spirit a bit, because we need to stay calm, remain positive in this rather difficult time. A lot of people have actually called in, because the virus is called coronavirus. So the coronavirus, when this outbreak happens, there's actually a bio coronavirus and they have attracted more than 3,200% search in the inquiry to find out, is coronavirus related to corona beer? Have you ever wondered about it? What's the answer? Actually, in Latin, corona means crown. The one the king is wearing on top of the head. Crown. Now, if you look at corona beer, the reason they name corona is because the logo represents the crown. And why they name coronavirus is because if you have seen this picture image, I'm sure you have seen it. The cell, where the virus attacked the cell, the virus come out if you look at in the close pictures, the virus is actually in the shape of the crown. Therefore, they call the name coronavirus. That's basically the only reason that link the coronavirus and the coronavirus. Okay, step aside. We have entered closely the second or the third months of the outbreak of coronavirus, which is the COVID-19. Now, the impact to us, of course, the immediate impact, as announced by WHO World Health Organization on the 12th, WHO has declared COVID-19 as the world's public enemy, worse than possible any terrorist attack. This is actually a change of tone, a very big change of tone from the beginning when the WHO is addressing to the public on this particular virus. But now, things is getting serious, and actually they have made this announcement so that more countries and more people are being aware of this, and they're taking the necessary steps to prevent themselves, protect themselves and their loved one. Immediate impacts by sectors. Of course, tourism. I'm talking now is Malaysian front, and of course the rest of the world. But you're looking at Malaysian front tourism. All China inbound trip have cancelled. And if you look at newspaper, Korea also put in a warning, traveling warning, to advise their citizens against traveling to Malaysia, because Malaysia is seen as high risk per se because of the number of cases. So this ultimately will be affecting the tourism in Malaysia coming from the world. Restaurant. I think you've seen newspaper, Kodong Jaya restaurant used to be very busy, especially during Chinese New Year time, but they have reported 30 to 80% drop in their business revenue. Hotels. Hilton shut down all China hotels, and around the whole China, Hilton has 33,000 rooms. 33,000 rooms, can you imagine the daily revenue? But because of this virus outbreak, Hilton will take the bold move and actually shut down all the hotels in China. Shopping mall. Of course, shopping mall, in general, there will be cinemas, retails, F&B. Today's articles come out, shopping mall in Malaysia are registering a drop of 50% in terms of business revenue, and they are possible looking at further drop. So that's why a lot of them are actually appealing to the owner in the rent reduction. Cruise ships, of course, the one that makes famous is the one that actually almost 10% of the people diagnosed with confirmed cases of the coronavirus in Japan. Casino, Macau shut down all their casinos, and Singapore also got one case that found that the diagnosed person is actually have worked for one casino in Singapore. So looking at all these are actually the immediate sectors. They are facing the first impact of coronavirus. But just now looking at the beginning, we all know that because when Chinese are not coming, the spending power is not there. And a lot of us actually know that China is the world's biggest spender, but they are not just the world's biggest spender. They are also producer. That's why China, in the terms, is called world's factory. Now, let's look at some of the building material importing from China. We are looking from property segment that may be facing the second wave of impact. This is not immediate, but I'm talking about aftermath. You will look at this. Some of the materials in general we are importing from China. You're talking about cement, steel, paint, tiles, bathroom fittings, roof, so on and so forth. Of course, when I mention about these building materials that are actually applicable for the the construction of a property, other countries may be producing it as well, but not necessarily we can get from this country due to two reasons. Of course, first could be the price. Can the price fit into the calculation of the construction where the developer has input it before the construction? Now, second thing is that if China are not producing enough, the needs of this building material could be coming from other countries. If these countries are not accustomed to sudden huge influx of order, even though we can give them the money, we can place them the order. Other countries may not be producing all this building material on time and in that quantities. So in summary is when China is having this short of supply in terms of building material production, we are seeing hiccups in terms of the supply coming to property sectors in the futures. It may not happen now, but in the future. Think of China production line. From raw material, they go to production line, and then before they send out, they need to do quality checking. Assemble the thing, send out logistic, freight forwarding, installation. Give you one example. I think you have heard this company before. It's called Foxconn. Foxconn is a company, biggest single contractor, producer for iPhone. Now, after the Chinese New Year, when Foxconn announced, everybody please come back to work, we need to keep up with our production. Only 10% of the workforce has actually returned so far. Why? Of course, some of them may still be worried about the virus. Some of them, they are not even allowed to get out from their house or their community or from their cities. So the supply for the iPhone has been disrupted because of the labor as well. So the two things that we are seeing in general, overall, different industry, you'll be seeing a disruption in the supply chain in terms of the material as well as the labor. Okay, now we take a closer look on the property demand and supply. I graduate in economics. I think for all the things pretty much that stuck me the most after graduating from economics is always demand and supply, demand and supplies. But property, if you ask me, the demand and supply is a little bit different from the rest of the commodity. If you look at property, from my point of view is that your property demand can be immediate. How I can illustrate that? If today I decide to buy a house, I can actually walk into a sales gallery, choose the unit I want, I place a booking. This will create an immediate demand for a property. But supplies will take years to come because property is not roti. We can't build a house or can't build a property overnight. It takes years of planning, 3 to 4 years of construction subject to weather, labor, and material supply to get the things done. So the supply of the material, if there is a disruption of the supply chain in terms of material and labors, the supply of the property will be disrupted, will be reduced as well. We are looking 3 years, 4 years down the road. So these are the things that will be impacting the property front, not just only in Malaysia, but I think in many parts of the world. Now, all the news we have shared is rather depressing, or some of us may call it negative. Yes, because the news appears nowadays, some of them are encouraging to see people discharged from hospital, but overall we are seeing the numbers can only be increased. People got infected, the death toll. Of course, we are looking from today's session, if you take a calm step today, you want to look forward what could be happening beyond today, looking at medium to long term from now onwards. I believe that every crisis lies an opportunity. Why? Do you remember in the year of 2008 to 2013? This is actually the 5 years period. The Malaysian had registered the highest property appreciation. Now, this 5 years period happened. Why? Because during the early year of the 2008, 2009, this is actually where the subprimes happened in the US, and then this impact starting to affecting the whole world. In order to contain, in order to spur the economic growth during that after the subprime crisis, the US government has actually come up with this quantitative easing measurement. So quantitative easing measurement basically in two things they are: printing more money, lowering the interest. And in fact, US at the time has lowered their interest rate from 5.25% all the way to 0.25. So I'm talking about 5% interest rate reduction in just merely 14 months. This is how much impact, this is how powerful the quantitative easing measurement has kicked into the market. So in short, what they're doing now, they're actually injecting the capital to the financial world, to the economy, so that people will actually have more confidence to get the economy going. Now let me just pause here for a while. When we talk about injecting capital and we talk about property, I believe most of us will agree with me that property basically has two identities. A house has two identities. The first identity for most of us is a roof over the top to stay. I think this is a concept maybe the older generation would think that buy a house is for to stay. But as times evolve, a house or a property per se has become an investment vehicle for people to finance for their own retirement, to finance for their kids' education. So in other words, the point I want to highlight or to share with you is that during normal times when people are buying a house, it's an organic demand. That means people buy a house, they need a roof over their tops for themselves or for their children. They need a property for them to stay. But when the market is filled with liquidity, the market is filled with credit, finance, this we call virtual money or currency is like a water. They need basically find a place to park. So that's why when you actually have quantitative easing measurement, what you're seeing that this big chunk, some of the money will actually go and land in properties. That's why you're seeing during the quantitative easing measurement time, a lot of money actually flow to the property. Not just Malaysian property has doubled or even tripled during that 2008 and 2013 times. You're seeing the same thing happening in Singapore, Vietnam, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and certain parts of China. The main reason you're looking at is the after effect of the quantitative easing measurement. So I'm seeing here, it could be a same deja vu, but maybe in a different quantum. Now, how had the world reacted to COVID-19? This already happened. If you look at the China market shut down for 1 week plus. Even after the Chinese New Year, the due for open, they shut down for another week because they want to control the panic selling. So when it comes to the real time when they open up on the 2nd of February, I believe, China actually had made an announcement they are injecting the fund to the market. And how much they're injecting? They're injecting 174 billion, which is close to 1.2 trillion renminbi yuan into the market. This one is to boost the confidence. So this is another way you are seeing it is a quantitative easing measurement to help to get the economy going. Now, one of the way they are doing this, for those of you, if you want to know a little bit deeper, is that US, they have the Central Bank of Federal Reserve. China have their own central bank. China do not have a single monetary policy as US, but they have few very effective tools. One of the most effective tools you can see is the open market operation, or you call OMO. So basically what they do, they actually have two options. One is the repurchase. By having a repurchase movement, they basically take the money off from the market. But reverse repurchase is a move that the Central Bank of China want to inject the capital to the banking system. Therefore, the banking system goes to the market. So the one that I mentioned to you, the 174 billion US dollar injection, the China government is doing this through reverse repurchase operation. So if you're interested to know, you can actually see this link. You can key in the comment to understand this more. I will actually share you the link as well. Now, Malaysian front, I'm talking about, of course, many big picture happen in China and the world. And let's look at Malaysia. Before We even talk about the stimulus package. You may have seen this news. I'm sure most of you have seen this news. Malaysian 2019, the GDP growth had registered 4.3% and is below most of the analysts' estimate. In fact, if you dig deeper, the whole year of 2019, they registered a 4.3% growth, below estimation. But the worst that hit us is actually on the 2019, the fourth quarter, the last quarter. Our last quarter only registered 3.6% growth. This is beyond all, not beyond, below all analysts' estimation. Okay? You know what we need to brace for is when the figure come, the 3.6% come, this is even before the coronavirus impact to be felt in economy. So in other words, 2020 first quarter, which we will announce somewhere in March, in April or May, you are seeing the figures will be way below 3.6%. I think that one is almost like a all confirmed thing. Okay, now another main reason for this to happen is the demand for commodities drop. First, I think the one of them is India has reduced purchasing the CPO from us, the crude palm oil, and also in general the demand for commodities drop because of coronavirus. So we need to brace for Q1 2020. Some of you had read the stimulus package. The stimulus package announcement is on the way. So according to our Finance Minister, Mr. Lim, Guan Eng has actually made the announcement that on February 27, our Prime Minister will be announcing the stimulus package. So at the moment now, they are actually collecting all the feedbacks from different experts, could be taxation, business association, migration, and so on and so forth, to gather their input so that actually can come out with a concrete yet effective stimulus package. Now, if you are the government, if we are the government, what can we do? So, of course, one thing we can look at is what can the government do in this stimulation package? First, of course, will be the OPR, overnight policy rate cut, which in general refer to interest rate. Why interest rate cut will help the economy to grow basically for two reasons. The first, they want to reduce the motivation for people to just put money in the banking system to earn fixed deposit. They would rather have people to take the money out from the banking system to spend so that the economy will actually spur up. Second thing is they want more business expansion. They want to encourage businessmen to expand their business by taking loan at a lower rate. So when the movement is moving, people are spending, people are borrowing, the economy will move at a faster pace. So this is one of the reasons that OPR cut is in the pipeline. The second thing is reserve ratio cut. Basically, reserve ratio, if some of you may not be too familiar with the terms, reserve ratio basically refers to how much the bank need to keep in the system before they can lend everything. Imagine, just give you an example, if the reserve ratio is 5% in the bank, if I'm a bank, in overall, there's actually 100 million deposit coming to me, banking system today. Actually, the maximum I can lend now is 95 million if the reserve ratio is 5%. It means that I must keep 5% of my deposit in my system. Legally, I can loan out maximum 95 million. So by reducing the reserve ratio, it means that the bank now do not have to keep so much money in the system. They can keep 3% if the reserve ratio is 3%. They can rent out 97 million instead of 95 million out. Of course, every single dollar that's sent out through multiplying effects, we're looking to 6, 7, or even 8 ringgit movement, if we call multiplying effects in the market. There's actually a very effective tool for the government to actually charging the Malaysian economy forwards through their monetary policy. And also moratorium payments up to 6 months. If you've seen this, basically I think I've seen CIMB, Maybank and other banks, they actually allowed those people who are affected by coronavirus that appeal to their banks so that they can actually either reduce, restructure, or even waive off their monthly payment, their mortgages, their business installment payment to the bank from 3 months to 6 months. I think this is one of the things I think many of us have not seen. I think this is a very good proactive move to give the relief and the confidence to the whole market before things turn worse. And then waiver on EPF, I think it's not a full waiver. It could be contributing less percentage for employees so that employee or employer will have more fund in hands during this critical time. Human Resources Development Fund as well, reduction on that. And all these things basically is to boost liquidity, okay? You've seen this, this is actually the beginning of the month they come up with the articles. Not just Malaysia, Asians are facing rate cut pressure to curb the fallout from the virus. It is a known fact. We are looking at much easier monetary policy or quantitative easing measurement coming to the way throughout the Asia, because China is part of the Asia and China has biggest influence in Asia region compared to the rest of the world. This is an interesting one. Just now I think we talked about the OPR. The OPR, the one I'm showing you, is a 6 years movement. At the top of it, you can see our overnight policy rate stands at 3.25%. There are some light movement, but it goes up again. But this time you're seeing it 3.25%, and then it dropped to 3%, and then the last cut is January. Unexpected cut, I would say, to reduce the interest rate to 2.75%. Now, how much can we go lower? We don't know, but I think some of you already knew that the interest rate in certain countries are actually close to zero, and in fact, certain countries in Europe already experiencing negative interest. So, if you ask me, in general, we are seeing that Malaysian interest rates still actually have quite a big room for the Bank Negara to play around. Now, this is actually the same one, but the time horizon has expanded out all the way to 2005. So we are looking at 2005 to 2016. Basically, it's the previous record that have not seen prior to 2016. So the red color, the one I want you to see how drastic the Bank Negara, how drastic a central bank can do with the OPR when the crisis hit. The OPR rate, if you can see at the top, is 3.5% at the beginning of 2008. 2008, ring a bell, 2008 is actually where the subprime crisis happened. So from 3.5%, it cuts all the way to 2%. You're talking about 1.5% drop. From 3.5 to 2%, you're talking about 1.5% drop. So in other words, interest rate has reduced by quantum is 42% quantum. To get go, before the interest rate is revising upward from 2010 until 2011 to stabilize between 3% to 3.25%. So, drastic moment require drastic measurement. So, in the medium or shorter term and longer term, how hard the crisis will hit us depends on how long this virus is prolonged. Of course, we are looking at this thing. The point I want to highlight is the interest rate, how drastic the bank would take in order to bring the interest rate down, to bring the reserve ratio down. I think it very much depends on the duration of the virus, how much it will impact us as a whole. And then it comes to the end. So we are talking a possible shift of bias paradigm. I think if you look at recent articles that you have seen, some say it's a myth, some say it's a truth. They say coronavirus cannot survive long in a hot and humid environment. That's why this virus always come, the outbreak always happen during winter time, and especially normally in the dry area. Come and think about this. Will Thailand, Malaysia, India, Singapore is exception because of the high density, fast movement from all continents. But you think about this. If this outbreak has subsided and come to a things, will there become an attraction for people, start looking for the place to stay in a close tropical weather for countries like Malaysia, Thailand, India as well? That's what we wait to see. But the thing is, it doesn't matter whether this is a myth or this is a truth. But once perception is set in, it becomes a reality. You agree with me? So would there be a surge of relocation of Chinese to the above countries? We don't know yet. Would be a surge of inquiries in terms of MM2H in Malaysia as well. The second thing I want to highlight, you can see this is coronavirus forced evacuation at Hong Kong housing block. One interesting housing block, as you know, Hong Kong is a very expensive place to stay, and most of them stay in condo. There's one contamination case, is the virus was found and actually spread out from the sewage pipe. So people from the same block has been affected. Not all of them are actually infected, but affected in the sense they have to go through checking, they have to quarantine for a certain period of time to make sure that they are not infected by the virus just because of one person. So suddenly they feel that the risk of infection to stay in we call a high-rise building, especially the older one, the risk of infection in the time of this is very high. So in future, we are seeing the bias paradigm shift of paradigm. You can see lenders going to become more popular. And of course, the things that we are looking at is if you stay in high rise, you have to press, in general, most of us have to press the lift button to go to the floor that we want. And in an enclosed space, imagine 6 people in the lift at the current moment of time is not a very pleasant thing, and because the risk of contracting the virus is higher. Of course, the density per floor as well is very high. Poor air ventilations. So this all contributes to potential shift in bias paradigm when they look at futures property as well. So to summarize the things a bit is we are actually in a very difficult times. We still don't know where this virus is going to head towards. We are seeing signs of more and more people are discharging from the hospital, but at the same time we are seeing the government taking more proactive roles in minimizing or revitalizing the economy. So for now on, the one I've shared with you is the details of the stimulus package, especially in Malaysia. We need to keep an eye on is actually on the 27th February. The announcement will be made by the Prime Minister himself. Okay, so with this, thank you very much for watching. I will see you soon when the announcement comes up, and let's talk about it when it's finally announced. Thank you very much. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to check out even more fun, entertaining, awesome content, please log on to our IQI Network website. And please don't forget to subscribe to our IQI official YouTube channel for the latest update and contents. I see you all there.